Today, let's paint a portrait within the landscape painting. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Now today we're going to continue our series dedicated to this particular painting that we are doing together from start to the very finishing line, from the imprimatura to the finished stage together. For those of you who are new here and maybe not aware, I have dedicated a whole series to this painting, so there is already a video dedicated to the imprimatura stage, one video about how to correctly apply the first layer of color, one video dedicated to the background, one to realist looking grasses, and now we are on our fourth session, which I would like to dedicate to the portrait within this landscape painting, and this being Georgina's figure within the landscape. Now, as you can see in the reference photograph, of course, this will be a challenging part of the painting because there's a lot of detail within the tartan plaid, of course, and we have to be geometric and mindful of what feels like 100,000 nuances of green within the tartan plaid. And of course the different details within the skirt, because fabric can look so flat. If you're not introducing any variation in those tones, it can look very flat, very one-dimensional, and therefore not very realistic. So we will tackle all those problematics today in this video. Once again, for those of you who are not aware, videos that are part of this series are filmed in real time, so there are no time lapses throughout. Basically, you see me work in real time and I'm commenting all the while what paints I am mixing, how I proceed, in what particular order I do what. Basically, I comment on everything that I hope will help you achieve similar results. Anything that has to do with methodology, so this is a more in-depth tutorial of what I offer on my channel. Of course, if this is not something that you're looking for, please feel free to either sit out these videos that are not to your taste, or to mute me and speed up the pace through the magic of YouTube. As you know, there is a setting that helps you accelerate the rhythm of the video. By the way, I wanted to let you know that I'm organizing a huge spring sale to mark the beginning of spring on the 20th and 21st of March. Everything on my website and on Etsy will be half price, and this includes both lino prints and original oil paintings. So if you are waiting for an opportunity to snatch something up from my gallery, there is no time like the present. And now, without further ado, let's get cracking. Now I believe I would like to start from top and work my way through to the bottom. So I will begin with Georgina's head, then work on her main garments, namely the shirt and the skirt, before moving on to the most difficult part of this session, which is mainly the tartan plaid that she has thrown over her shoulder. When working on the background in the previous sessions, I've painted over her hair a little bit here and here, so we need to redefine the contours of her head. I believe that there's not a lot of color correction to do here, so we have just to remix the base color, which I believe to be, if I remember correctly, a mixture of black and maybe burnt sienna. So we have a very, very warm brown tone, which is nearly auburn. So let's see, this is okay maybe for the outlines of her hair, but we need to go darker in the middle. So here where the light catches her hair, we can be as bright as that, but we'll need to darken it down further. in the middle. I will smooth it out a little bit here. Before we bring more black into it, like so, I need to go around the tartan blanket here because it is thrown over her hair, I believe. Maybe I will go in with a smaller brush in order to define some smaller hair here, bring something of the background back into the foreground. I will pick up some of the beige that we used for the background on this one and redefine this a little more. Was clumsily done. I will wipe off the brush and see whether I can smooth it out better, because this was not my finest work here. Right, it's a bit tricky, I must say. This will do. Now we need to brighten some of her shirt now. It is not a true white, so we need to mix the right tone here. It's a fairly cool, bright color, so I mixed white with indigo, just the smallest bit of indigo actually. And we will mark the outlines, which are indeed the brightest part of her shirt. Okay, then we have a streak or a draping that catches the light here on her shoulder blade. I believe we need to go just a bit darker than that. We have a bit of draping here, 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 and there. And this is basically it. Okay, now we need to go darker, or I will maybe just clean my brush and with the remainder of the color just pick up a little bit of color and blend it out ever so slightly. And we need to do the same thing here. basically. I think I would like to pick a smaller brush and go into some colors in between. So I pick up the same blued down white, bring in a little bit of black in order to create a grayish undertone, and redefine the shadow areas that we here have. So here, maybe I need to go even darker than that. Yes, something like this rather. Yeah. Okay. It's tricky because this is really a small scale. And you have to be very, very mindful of where you put your brush. Okay. I pick up a little bit of more of black because I feel like the outlines of the shadow here are quite black, a true black, maybe a warm black rather than the cooler one that I've created, but still black. Okay. We can push them into the shadows here and here. We have deeper and brighter shadows, so we do need to establish this very, very clearly. So here under the biggest drapings, the shadows are quite dark and we use black, as well as here in the corner of this draping and the space between her arm and her bust, but maybe here as well. But in between, all those drapings in between, there are more of a darker brown. They are less deep maybe, so this should show again the range in different tonal values here in those kind of details will give you more of a realist look. If you don't create the same values for the shadows in the whole, all over everywhere in the fabric, but you vary them and show different types of depth, this will really improve the quality of your painting, I believe. And here we need things to go more gradually than that. So, okay. And then we will smudge it out diagonally, like this. And re-establish the whites, because I feel like this is maybe not precise enough, so I would like to redo those shadows. We have to work on the transition between those. Okay. I feel like for now this is maybe the best I can do. We will see how we get on further down the road. Now let's paint in her belt. I would say we can start off with burnt sienna. Okay. Take a small brush and go into Tuscan earth, mix in with cadmium yellow dark to do the stitching. So we will apply just really small. I said really small, and that's where my brush goes off. Clean the brush and clean up your mess. Right. Okay. And we will fill in those stitchings. Go into the burnt sienna, mix in a little bit of black and create some shadow in between. Maybe a little more so, closer to where the tartan lies. Okay. Now we can move over to the skirt. I think I prefer picking up a slim square brush to work on her skirt. There are different types of yellow in the skirt. Some are warm toned, some are cool toned, and we will need to switch forth and back in between of both of them. So this will really be very minute work. But first of all, once again, in order to provide ourselves a visual guide, I would like to work in the deepest shadows. So I'm going into black. I think here we don't need to work on a particular undertone, so we can just go with plain black. And paint in where it goes. I would say here would be a good start. And so this is the tartan. This is where the tartan falls, okay? Then we have something like this going on. Right. Okay. Then the next biggest shadow in the drapings will be just above it. Here's a small bit, and there is a bigger one. Here we have okay. Now let's try to go into golden green and mark, on the contrary, the brightest parts of the skirt. I believe that here are some bits that are very, very warm toned, but they're not everywhere, and then maybe a little bit on the side. We have something that is a bit more neutral, maybe brown ochre. Okay. And the rest of it is a bit cooler toned, just glauconite, just pure glauconite. And see where this leads us. And try to muddle this together, because of course the transition is not as clear as that. And we are now also going over the black, actually, because I want to create a more gradual progression between the shadows and the lighter parts. So let's see how this goes. Well, this is not looking bad. Now let's go back into it and redraw the shadows. Smudge it out again. All we need to do is re-establish the highlights. So back into brown ochre. golden green in here. And here as well as here. Here we have. Now I'm going back into some of the highlights in the skirt, and to do this I've mixed together two different types of highlights, one that is a bit cooler toned, the other one a bit warmer toned. So the cooler toned will be composed of chromium oxide green, cool grey and white, and the warmer toned highlight is composed of golden green, cool grey and white. I'm starting with the warmer toned one, and still with the same very fine flat brush that is slightly forked, I'm going over this part here. It's not really important that the brush is forked. This is not why I've chosen it. It's just that it is the finest one that I have in my flat brushes set. So this really gives me those nearly calligraphic strokes that will be very appreciated in these types of situations, as you can see. So we are really quite detailed here. And don't worry, for now it still looks like they're really contrasty. There is really a high contrast between the highlights and the shadows, and once I'm finished with my highlights I will smudge everything over with another brush so it won't appear as dramatic as this. Okay, so don't worry if this looks a little awkward right now. It won't be when I'm finished with this part. Okay, now it is starting to get really, really small and really fine here. It's difficult to stay true to the reference painting because we are working on such a small scale here, honestly. I'm at the limits of my miniaturist's gift, let's say. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't insist that much on the bottom of the dress. We don't have that many highlights in here. Now I'm going to get this color of my brush and go into the cooler highlights here, and I should be going a bit darker with these, so I'm mixing just the tiniest bit of black into my mixture here to tone it down. Of course, adding black to it has the effect of cooling the color down even further, because most of the time the most neutral black counts as a very, very saturated blue, kind of, or at any rate it is known to add some bluish hints or some cooler undertones to any color that you mix black into. It's maybe too cool toned. We'll see once we've smudged everything together. No, it's definitely too cool toned. Okay, I will mix the warmer tone and the cooler tone colors together and see what a transitional color here would look like. Going over it once again. Yes, this appears better, albeit still a little too bright, but we will be able to tone it down if necessary here. Never mind, never mind. It's working out better on top of the blacks. Okay. Now here in these areas of really dark shadow, I'm trying to apply the paint in a really semi-transparent way. So these are, I have virtually nothing on my brush, as you can see. Very little color. Okay, very little color. Right, now I'm cleaning off my brush, getting off any residues of color that I might still have. And now we will smudge everything together. Like so. I'm actually half glazing the whole of the skirt. And now I wonder whether it can be a good idea of going back into the black, adding just the slightest bit of golden green into it to create kind of a very dark green, and then glaze over in the same way here, just to create a little more interest and adding some new undertones, some greenish blacks into what we already have. Right, this might be interesting. Also helps to re-establish the shadows that I've maybe attenuated, maybe alleviated a little bit too much previously, maybe even a bit more here, because this draping goes like this and disappears gradually into the shadows. So there's only one bit that is really bright and the rest shouldn't be. Now back into our black here. Now we can insist on those areas that are really dark. Like so, closest to the rest of the fabric where it really is quite opaque. Here as well, because the drapings are quite deep, I would believe. So these are really dark shadows here. And here. So we have one bit here that is closer to the draping, that is really much darker, and then it gradually fades into some kind of gray here. So we have both tonal values, a darker and a brighter shadow, so to speak. Okay. And I feel like I'm not sure that we're going to push this any further than that, honestly. I believe this is already very good. I will just reattach the drapings to where they go into the belt here, because I feel like I have maybe erased it a little bit too much. I will place a shadow where the belt is going over the fabric here and here as well, because this is the rest of the green fabric tucked under the belt, and this is where it loops out. Maybe bring back just the slightest bit of green here in order to make it understandable for being the fabric. Let's pick up a little more of the green here. Right, now we know this is the green fabric. Just a bit of the shadow here. This was not dark enough. Something like that. And here this is more of, I have to get the color of my brush, and here this is more of the same value all over, so we can smudge it out a bit more. And yeah, this is pretty much it for me for the skirt. We're done with the skirt. Now we can move over to the most challenging part, which will be the tartan blanket. And I feel like in order to save some time, we should come up with a clever system in order to apply in colors, because there will be a lot of repeats, of course, in the lines. So maybe I should pre-mix the 3 or 4 most dominant colors here. Maybe let's do that. Okay, starting with the lightest and coolest color, I've basically dipped my brush into the same one that we used on the skirt, but adding quite a bit more black to it in order to gray it down even further, and a lot more white, obviously, to bring back the brightness that was killed by the white. Let's start. I'm not sure that I'm going to get it right from the first attempt, but this is a process, so the most important part is that we get in the right direction, and then we can always glaze over in order to get where we need to go. Okay, I don't know what... Well, it's still too saturated, so we need to have this maybe lighter, but this is not very difficult. This will not be an issue. Let's see. It's also, our perception is very much influenced by the type of colors that are next to the ones that we're mixing in. So of course, the fact that I'm cooling down something that I initially did in a very warm way transforms the appearance of this color. So it might be better than what I think it is once everything of the tartan plaid is covered. Now we have quite a white part until here somewhere. There we once again have this cooler tone peeking through that is gradually going into the shadows. We will darken them down once again, but for now I am just laying down this color wherever I feel like it goes. This is not quite white, so we can glaze it with this color a little bit. Then we have one bit here that is cooler toned, like this. And it continues pretty much up until here, right? I feel like this is maybe too bright. Never mind. Then we have a bit of this type of color here once again. Here on the brim. Ah, what is happening? Wait. This white should be here actually and not here. I've messed it up previously. Never mind, we will get it right in our third go. So still have a little bit here, I believe. Yeah. Okay, now here we definitely have this kind of cooler toned color. Okay, a bit of white. This is a little bit of the same color here, and here actually. And here. 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 Just the slightest bit here. And I believe, yes, I believe this is more or less it. Now I believe the warmest toned green and the darkest one, this type of stripe that goes here, here, and here is already the right color in the painting. So we do not need, I believe, going over this. We now only have to re-establish those middle tones in between the warmest and the coolest green. So I'm just very basically mixing them together. So mixing this cool toned green with the warmest toned green, which is a mixture of golden green and green umber, I believe, that we are going to tone down with black. And then once again, in order to counterbalance the coolness that the black brings into the color, we are going into some more golden green and maybe adding some green umber. I don't know why I started with this particular part. Don't mind me, I don't know why I did that. There's no particular reason for me doing this, but never mind. Okay, then it continues here. I think what I am about to do here is the equivalent of screw the system that I just myself established for me. I'm not following it through at all. It's very confusing, all those lines and different hues. It's very, very confusing, let me tell you. I feel like what I'm doing is trying to get the hue not right, because this won't happen in this second layer, I believe, but maybe closer to where I need to go in order to get a better understanding of where the different panels of color are in the tartan. But this is really all I hope to achieve in this go. It's very confusing because you have to completely forget some of the lines that are happening in the tartan, like the white stripes that are separating the bigger pans, and just trying to imagine those bigger pans of color, like if there weren't any lines on there, like how would each pan of color go? And then just imagine the net of white and dark green on top of it. And as it is very detailed and very fine, and we're working in such a small scale, it's really a difficult thing to do to get to this level of abstract thinking. I'm struggling a little bit here, but we'll get there. So we're going back into the green umber, and it is still not dark enough, so we're going really back in the green umber and picking up some of the black. Come on. Well, somehow it might be at some point the right shade. So I'm drawing the lines back in because I've drawn over them a little bit too much. So even more black here. Of course, this is not what we need. We need rather to blacken it down with maybe a burnt sienna, because once again, mixing black in just made it look bluish, more blue than it is, and it's definitely not blue. It's closer to brown. Down at the brim here. Okay, let's see how re-establishing this will go. Wow, I believe that it is also a bit too broad what I just did, but never mind. I just have to get a bit closer to what we need, to the result that we need to get. Okay, and now I will use the exact same shade of brown and glaze over. Right. See how that goes. Maybe this is the way to go. Yes. Now. We go back into the same brown here. And we have another of those lines here and here. And here. The rest should be black, really. Okay, glazing over here. already glazing over here. Let's see what happens. Now here the line was more or less intact, but this helps me figure out where everything goes. Nevertheless, redrawing it. Okay. Right. Okay. Here's the line, okay. So it's going like this, and this is splitting it in half. For real, we do have a line here as well. I just don't know whether this will help me or complicate matters. Unnecessary at this stage, but let's draw it in. And there's also a bit here actually. There's another line here. No, I don't know why I'm drawing it in, because this should be the last stage, but well, it will serve me as a guide for now. Why not? No, like that. I'm sorry, I was not aware that the camera stopped recording. So in between, what I've done is that I came to the conclusion that the cooler toned pans of the tartan blanket were indeed too cool toned, that the difference in undertone between those two colors that I've mixed together was just too dominant, and that I didn't like how it looked, that it was not a very harmonious look, nearly as if it didn't belong to the same tartan plaid, you know. So what I did was I mixed both of them together in order to have something in between of the two, and went over the lighter colors that were cooler toned. I believe that it is still maybe too cool toned. I will try to give it the right tint gradually, but I'm not sure that I will be able to achieve the right color in one go. And then also what I did was I went over like this, because there are cross sections between the different color pans, and even the darkest line, when it crosses over the brightest parts, appears brighter. So I wanted to have this mix. So I don't know whether it's clever to go into the white right now. Normally you do that at the very end of your painting process, but I feel like I need to re-establish the values once again here, because they were a bit messed up. So I will just go ahead and do that and see where this leads me, but I need a guide here. I need a guide for the tonal values, so yeah, we'll see if this really helps me along. I hope it will. Yeah, we're ending up with something that is still green, as you can see, so this is why you need to wait until the colors are more set down and go in several times for the brightest colors on your palette in order to let them really outshine the rest of the underlying layers. Also, I can't remember which painter said that it is better to nail the tonal value, the value, than the exact color. So as long as the different sections of the plaid at the cross sections are the right value, it will still look more believable than if I got the color exactly right. So this is also part of the reason why I'm trying to get this right here and go into the white as soon as now. Okay. Okay, and as you can see, and I hope you agree, this is already looking better actually. Alright, I'm going back into the white here, because this really needs to be brighter than this. This is maybe one of the brightest whites of the plaid. This section here. Okay, and here. And here. This kind of goes over like this. Right. Now we try to blend this out a little bit. Okay. This is not that bad. This is actually looking a lot better than it did before, I believe. Okay. This is a bit brighter than that. We will brighten this up. Okay. This one is already done. Okay, this one is real white here. normally. This should be brighter than that. And gradually. Okay. Once again, this is brighter here. Brighter here. Now I believe that we need to get some variation within each square, because as the fabric is not hanging down vertically but is doing like those drapings with the movement and the wind, you subsequently have some areas that are more or less catching the light. We have, for instance, a little bit of a brighter color here in the middle of this pan, and I'm struggling with the light here because I have the sun shining right at me, which is a bit annoying. Also, I need to stretch this out into here, because once again we have something that is fairly lighter here. Okay, until there. This is a bit less so. Maybe here a little bit. And here. Oops. There you go. A bit brighter here. Okay. Here, this we have to smooth out. On the contrary, one is a bit brighter here because it's catching the light. I'm trying to make it look more voluminous and more 3D here, and give it a bit of a draping. Here we have a bit that is brighter, going into here, a bit here. And then here. Now we might want to do the exact opposite thing and go into some darker colors. I will be going into green umber and making it work this way. Maybe green umber and brown and black. Burnt umber here. Yes, better. Okay. So now we will go over with this and darken down everything that feels a bit too light. Okay. Okay. we have this part that is darker here as well, and then here at the bottom part it's a bit darker too. Okay, we have a bit of a shadow here and here at the bottom corner. This we might make the shadow drag down a little bit further. Here we need to increase the shadows, but green is not the way to go. Here in the middle it is though. Here in the middle it is. There you go. And there you go. Okay. This needs to get greener than that, so we are increasing here as well, but more at the bottom as well. And because the end of the scarf seems to be a bit fringed, I will make the motion like so. Okay, so this got lost before, and this got lost a little bit as well, so we need to bring it back. Something like this, and something like that. Okay, and now there's just a little bit of shadow here as well. Right, this looks weird. This looks a bit weird, you must admit. This looks weird as well. It's nearly not the same color, although it needs to be. It needs to be. This is somehow okay. This we need to draw back in. This will need to darken because there is a shadow going on. Here as well. Okay. We need to get this bit a bit greener. This one as well. And then this also. Okay. And darken this. Again. Wow, this is nearly completely black. So. This is very brownish. We need to darken this bit that drops into the shadows, so we're picking black and going over here and here, basically. This whole bit needs to be really in shadows. Right, like so. And we're dragging the shadow up here so that it looks more gradual. But I need to get a little bit of paint off of my brush so that it's less extreme. Okay, this is how we're going to get it, smudging out the shadows here, adding a little bit of them just in between those two, increasing them here, right, and going into here and here, even more so here. And now we already have a nice impression of volume, right? Redrawing the line here. Okay. Now we need to increase some shadows here now. I have trouble seeing what, yeah, here. Okay, here, 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 here. Okay. And also there is a draping going on here. That we need to separate. I don't quite know how. This is not clear here. I need to pick up some more black. I have to blacken this. It's too transparent. I think we will need to come back once the paint is a bit more dry, because this will be just difficult. I need to make it believable that there is a thicker layer going over top, that this is draping over it actually. Achieve this like that. Or can't we? Okay. It's difficult, it's very, very hard, this one. This one is hard. I don't know, because you also have this darker line that is not purely done by the shadow, but because this is the way the tartan goes. But it goes over at the same time as the shadow dropped by the draping, so your eye does not really understand what it sees. Not the simplest bit. I just have to believe that this will be enough, because I'm not sure that I will be able to establish any more details than that on here, unfortunately. This is hard. There's draping within the draping here, happening like so. Something like that. The darker color here that we've drawn over, And here as well. And this is definitely darker here. And this needs to show right here. After having let the paint dry down a little bit, I believe that there are several observations to be made. First of all, there are still areas that need to get a bit brighter than what they now are. This one in particular would be good to brighten it up. Maybe a little bit of this, although I'm not sure that I'm feeling like going into all of this mess again, so I believe I will just leave it alone. Maybe brighten up all the whites even further. And then all that there's left for us to do is to add the different lines in here in white and the dark green to complete the pattern. Now let's begin with brightening some of the green areas. I'm going with the same brush into some white without medium and without anything else really. Then I'm cleaning off the brush in order to have minimal amount of paint on it. And then I am glazing over the square. It's too bright. I need to clean it even more. And this is now maybe too bright. This was the risk, but I believe that we can salvage this. We can salvage this, can't we? Yes, this is a bit better. Okay. Now the pure whites. I have to be careful now. To not get overboard with all of this. The bristles are a little stiff, so there is a risk of me going into areas I'm not supposed to go into, but it will be all right, I guess. Okay. And most importantly here, because I believe this is as bright as here, less so here, maybe more so there, and then pretty bright here. as well. This might be maybe a good idea to brighten this one up as well. Just ever so slightly, in order to make clear that this whole thing is the same line in a way. We might have to brighten this just ever so slightly. Just a bit too bright for what I wanted to do, but never mind. This is how it will go now. Okay. I just need to be more precise than that with it. And now I do believe that we won't do much else here. So we are ready, I believe, to go into those lines that make up the rest of the pattern. And I hope I will be able to have a steady hand here. This won't be easy. I need for the paint to go on very smoothly, so I'm picking up some medium and some turpentine. And then I'm going to clean my brush on my cloth in order to really have minimal amount of color on the brush. And then I'm going to start with the line that is closest to the darkest line. This will provide me with a guide. Okay, not too bad. Now I will need to do the same thing at the other side. So here. I don't have a steady hand, and this is awful in situations like these. This is not doing me any favors here. Right. Okay, and then we have the exact same white line on this side of the darker one. So here. So we will have a little bit of white here as well, of course. And on this side. On this side. On this side. On this side. Here. Here. Maybe just a smidge in here. Wow, this won't be easy. And we have a second one to do along the other side. One that goes down that road. And one that is here on the border that we just can't see until the top. Then we have one at this side. And here as well. We have one that is going up here, one that is going up here, down here, and here. Okay. One that is going down here, I believe. Okay. Another one here. And one that meanders up here, here, and we can't quite make out the rest. Here. Oh, I've forgotten about the bits here and here and here. Right. So we have these, and then we have one here. Here. Oh, I will not be able to get them all in, I believe. This will be a bit challenging. Let's see. Here. Yes, I believe I won't be able to fit any more than these. Good. And then we can switch to the horizontal lines. Horizontal white lines. Starting with 2 and 2. Okay. Okay. Very hard to fit everything in. Honestly, on this scale, not very, very easy. Let's see. I would need a second line, but Yes, well. Then we have the exact same pattern on top here. And here. And here. Now we have one line here, just a little bit on the bottom. And then here. And here. I will scratch out those parts that are mostly in shadow and that we're not supposed to see that well. And by the way, this as well. Okay. This has gone overboard. Told you with the bristles it won't be easy. Now, here we have one down here, another one just on top, one that goes right over, another one that goes right over, one here and here, here and there, and then here and here. Once again, we are correcting where we've overdrawn. And now over to the last one. We seem to have forgotten one little line here. 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 And that's it, I believe. And this we've already covered. This we've already covered as well. Now, once again, we are correcting where we've overdrawn. There are some lines that are not entirely great here. So now we're going into the dark green line, which was green umber, and we need to go even darker. So where is my gluconite? Where's my brown? All right, now we are drawing a line here down the middle. And then here in the middle of this one, And we also have one down here. And here. We also have it down the middle of here. Here. Oops. In the middle of here. Here. Down here. And might be all. And down here. Maybe just the slightest here. Yes. I might re-establish the line here if I want to. But basically we are pretty much done here. I might correct some smaller things here and there. Maybe we should brighten it up just a little bit here as well. I believe that is that. I might go into some blacks in order to set the shadow here. I feel like it has lessened while everything dried, and it is a bit less dramatic than maybe what would be necessary in order to establish the borders between the different layers in the layering, in the draping, sorry. So let's darken this down ever so slightly. Again. Right, we are glazing here. Now here as well. I believe that. We need to re-establish the shadows. That went missing. And yeah, I'll darken it here just ever so slightly. Now we're taking the same brush that we used previously in order to smooth things over a bit, to avoid hard borders. Especially here, this is a bit tricky here. Now what is left for us to do is Georgina's skirt here. We need to go back into some white, but not too much of it. We need for it to not be a bright white. I might pick up just a hint of cool grey as well in order to dull down the white, as well as go into some black, because it is a cool white or cool, really cool grey here that we're dealing with. Now, there are some parts that are a little bit more defined and white. This is where we have the lace pattern on her skirt, and other parts that are fairly transparent, because of course this is where the lace is going over, is where we see everything through the lace and not particularly the pattern on itself. Cool grey here, okay, mostly. This is what we're going to do here, right. We are going into some darker colors, so cool grey mixed in with black, in order to establish the darkest shadows here underneath, because we are looking at the ground through this lacy textile. Okay, and even darker, I would say, here on the right. And here on the border with the skirt, because obviously the more voluminous green skirt would cast a shadow on it. So like, okay, here and here. Maybe go even more into blacks here on the bottom, a bit here on the side. Like here, here and here. Okay, now we will be going lighter progressively, of course. Smoothing it out. Okay, now going into a brighter version of this and painting in the highlights. So the trim here, no, even a bit brighter. The trim here, here and here, here. Here it is nearly completely white, by the way. we have some brighter highlights here as well. You see the hem here? And now we have to pick up another brush, I believe, a smaller one, and we will paint in those little flowers, I believe, that we have in the lace. I will mix white and brown ochre because I believe this is a fairly more warm toned color here. We won't be able to be precise, of course, here at this scale. I mean, I'm not capable of doing anything that is much preciser than that. I must admit, this is too complicated for me. But I hope this will suffice in order to make you believe that there is a pattern, that this is lace. Now we have to go progressively brighter. Where bits of it catch the light better. Like this. Okay. And I believe that's it. We won't be able to do it better than that. And this is it, guys. We are finished with the session for today, and I'm very pleased with how the figure turned out. I believe that we managed to achieve something that is really realistic and believable, and similarly to what I've said in the previous session, if you invest a lot of time and patience and you proceed methodically within your painting, you will be able to achieve similar results or even better ones if you put even more time into your work. Personally, I feel like it would have been difficult to go into more details than what we did together today because of the scale of the painting. If it were something that is a bit more of a, I don't know, 1 meter by 50 centimeter or something that leaves more place to the figure, we could have maybe gone into even more details and achieved an even more photographic effect. Now, at the same time, this is not really the style that I'm going for in my work personally. I like to keep it slightly more painterly so that it is believable, but at the same time clearly identifiable as being an oil painting and not a photograph. So if you want, I am content with this level of detail. Now, I believe that there will only be 2 lessons left in this series. The next one being dun dun dun, the pebble road leading into the distance. I really think that this will be the most difficult part that we will have to tackle within the painting, and the one where we will have to think the most how we will proceed beforehand, before starting, before going into the colors. But This is something that we will tackle in the next video. I'm not going to get in the details now. And then I believe that I will make one last video to conclude the whole series and focus on how to successfully complete a painting. So how to bring everything together, how to focus on the little details, tying everything together within the painting that will give the finished result the most polished look. Thank you so much for joining me today. And as always, I hope to see you very soon in my next video. And until then, have a lovely morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Cheers!